So now I'm going to classify it. I'll say 2222. I'll say submit. It says predicted flower is Setosa. What else we want? And this entire thing, the fun fact is, this entire thing is working on two different servers. Okay, so this is the REST API concept. My backend, I have a dedicated backend for it, and I have a dedicated front end, and both of the things are independent. So I can actually host this somewhere on the cloud, and it is running my machine learning model, and I am using just front end. So in future, I can work with React, Angular, or Vue easily. Even I can connect Android, and I can have fun. Hey everyone, my name is Ronak, back with another video, and this is going to be one of the exciting projects. So in this project, we are actually going to build an end-to-end REST API. So for the machine learning model, so far now we have been covering, let's say, a lot of stuff where I do templating, but that templating is not, I would say, a long-term solution. Now, why is that? Industries or organizations are always going to try to make things easier. Let us assume that if I have an API that is going to connect to, let's say, a website, a mobile app simultaneously, I'm obviously going to use it because I'm saving cost over there. I don't have to explicitly go and write two different backends for handling both the things. I can just make one single API, and this is not just limited. Okay, once I create my API, host it somewhere on the cloud, I can hit the requests using, let's say, an iOS app or an Android app. So I can work either with React Native, I can work with Swift, or I can work with React, Angular, Vue.js. Okay, so the limitation for the client-side framework is going to get eliminated. You can use anything you want if you have a development team. Okay, so even in many of the hackathons I have done this, and today I'm going to show you the real technique with which you can do this. So we will have a dedicated backend running on a fully functional server, and then we will be covering a client-side system. Okay, so a front end which is going to hit a request with each other. Okay, so this is going to work with REST. So REST, R-E-S-T, stands for representational state transfer. So that is the thing with the REST, and now let us get started. So the first thing is we will start by making our model. So I'll make a folder over here, machine learning model. Okay, so I'll say ML underscore model, and inside this ML model I'll just start my terminal. Alright, you can even open this in the Chrome, and this entire project will be available to you in the description box below. We have a GitHub link. Alright, so everything will be uploaded over there. Anyway, so let me actually redirect to my ML model, and I'll start with the Jupyter notebook. So if we specifically look for, let's say, the ML model, I'm not going to go much into the intricate details of the ML here because this video is about the REST. Okay, so what I want to aim over here is how we can connect the Flask backend with the front end. Okay, so I'm not covering, let's say, framework at the moment, just like React or Vue, Angular, or anything of that sort. Okay, we can do that in the future tutorials, but for this one I'll be just making one fully functional JavaScript page which is going to connect with my Flask. Okay, so it is going to go synchronously with it. I can even attach a database if I want, but let us just try to keep things simple. Alright, so here I can say ML model. Alright, and I'll just make a simple application for the, let's say, iris. Okay, so iris flowers dataset. Again, I'm saying this that I'm not covering the ML in depth over here. So I'll first start import as pandas as PD. I'll just zoom. Alright, so import pandas as PD, then I'll say from sklearn dot datasets. So I'm actually using the dataset already provided to us. I'll say load iris. After that I'll say data over here, which is equal to load iris. Alright, so I have my data. Now I'm going to use the pandas. So I'll say x is equal to pd dot data frame, and in this I'm going to give it data dot data, that is my data, and I'll also give it columns. So my column names are basically going to be data dot feature names, and these feature names are actually all the name of the columns. So I'll say feature underscore names over here. Similarly I'll do it for y. So I'll say pd dot series, where data is equal to data.target, and over here I'll say name of the column is going to be target. Okay, so I have my data done. Now I'll say from sklearn dot model underscore selection, I'm going to import train test split, and here I'm going to say xtrain, xtest, ytrain and ytest, which is equal to train test split, where I'm going to give it x comma y with a test size of, let's say, 0.20. Okay, so we have 150 values in the iris, so my 30 values are going to go for testing, and 120 for the training. All right, it is just a very simple model. Okay, so here now I'm going to say from sklearn dot let's say ensemble, I'm going to import random forest classifier, and here I'll say model is equal to random forest classifier with like this, and here I'm going to say model dot fit, which is going to take my xtrain comma ytrain. Okay, this is just generic ML. If you don't have any idea about machine learning, please go check tutorials. I have a lot of tutorials, around 40 tutorials are there. I think 38 or 39 something. Anyway, then I'm going to say ypred is equal to model dot let's say predict, and I'm going to feed it my xtest. All right, so I'll say xtest, and I'm just taking some matrix. Okay, from sklearn dot matrix, I'll be taking the accuracy score, and this accuracy score actually takes two parameters, that is my ytest and ypred. Okay, so 96% accuracy, not bad. Now what I'll do is I'm going to save this model. Okay, so I actually want to save this model so that we don't have to train it over and over again. So we want something that is computationally inexpensive, so I'll just say mkdir, that is make directory, and here I'm going to make a folder named as saved underscore models. Alright, so if I go over here, I can see saved models is a directory that has been created. Now I am going to store this model, so I want to actually save this random forest model. So I'll say from joblib, joblib, I'm going to import dump. Alright, so this dump is responsible for making the model. Okay, your joblib model. You can actually use pickle if you want, but I prefer joblib. It is much more convenient according to me. And here I'm going to say dump, and this dump is taking two parameters, so it is going to take model and the path where you want to store. So I'll say saved underscore models with the name of the file, so I'll say model.joblib. Okay, so joblib, that is the format. And now if I go over here and check in my saved models, I have my model.joblib, so my model is ready. I'm done with my model. So we actually now will focus on the backend. So I'll just close this thing. I'll quit it from here. All right, so my Jupyter has been eliminated. Okay, so I'll just come out of this. So I'll say cd dot dot. All right, and now I need to make a new folder which is going to have all of my backend. So I'll say mkdir and I'll say backend. Okay, so this backend is actually going to be my Flask backend, and here I'll say cd backend. So I am actually changing directory to the backend, and in this backend I'm going to make a new file. So the way I do it, I can either use command which is echo, otherwise I can click over here, I can say app.py. okay, and this is where I'm going to write my Flask. So if you don't have any idea about Flask, please go check. I have made a ton of videos. Okay, so I have many project videos and everything, and today we are actually going to deep dive into the REST API. So I'll say from Flask, I'm going to import Flask. All right, and here I'm going to say app, which is just an initialization for the class, and here I am to say name underscore underscore name underscore underscore. Then I'm going to say app.route. See, I cannot cover a lot of Flask in this one. That is the reason. If you don't have any idea about Flask, please go and check. Okay, so app.route, I'm going to route on the slash, and here I'm going to make a function which is, let's say, df.basic, which is going to, let's say, return hello world. All right, so return hello world, and after that I'm going to say if underscore underscore name underscore underscore is equal to underscore underscore main underscore underscore, which is going to say app.run, and let me say debug is equal to true at the moment. All right, because when we actually work with the production models, you have to remove that. Anyway, so this is my Flask code, and now let me just check it. Okay, so here I'll run it. I'll pass the CLS. I'll just clear everything. And here the way I run it, I'll say py space app.py. So py is basically Python. If you're working with Linux or Mac, please type Python. Okay, py specifically works for the Windows at the moment. So py space app.py, and this is the local route that I get. So if I go over there and if I select localhost :5000, I'm going to get the hello world. So here I'll say localhost :5000 and it says hello world. Okay, so my API is running. Now what I want to do is JSONify it. Okay, so what is JSONify? REST API works with something known as JSON. So it is going to pass the data. So it is going to cache the data. It is going to pass the data with the help of the REST. And the way the common communication language between all of the, let's say, languages out there or frameworks is JSON. So JSON is basically JavaScript object notation. So what it does, we can pass the data using that and we can catch it somewhere or the other. So for the testing purpose, what I'm going to do, I'm go with something known as Postman. Okay, and you will have to actually install this Postman, because with Postman you can perform, let's say, REST API calls. All right, so you can actually download it. You can go over here and say Postman. Okay, you can search for Postman. So www.postman.com, and if we click on the download Postman, it is an application. All right, so you can either try it for Windows or Mac or Linux, the way you want. Okay, it is automatically going to recognize and everything. I think there might be some also apt-get command, okay, if you are working with the Linux, but that is the way it works. Okay, so you can use the Postman in order to test API. Okay, because we are not going to work anymore with the web pages. Okay, we are actually looking forward to work with something more practical. We handled a lot of requests over here, so I have to select get. Okay, so we have a lot of requests over here. I'll say get. I'm going to say http : and I'm going to give it the path that I work on, that is localhost :5000. Okay, and let me check if my server is running. Okay, so my server is basically running. Okay, and the way I do it, I'll say send over here. So it is sending request and it says hello world. So whatever I'm trying to return, I get it over here. Okay, when I press send, and if I check it, I actually got a 200 status request at the moment. So that indicates that my post, I can hit the request using the Postman. Now we are going to spice up some things. So I'm going to say request, and I'm also going to take JSONify. So this JSONify is basically responsible in order to pass the JSON request. So the way I do it, I'll say JSON, and here I'm going to say, let's say, name, and I'm just going to pass my name. All right, so I'm going to say name with colon and Ronak, and it is up and running when I say Control S. And now if I go on the Postman, all right, and this is a get request, okay, with localhost :5000. I'm going to send it, and it says name : Ronak. Now this name can actually be fetched by your front end, which is going to be a client side system. So for at the moment, we are going to work with that model, and we are going to test it on the Postman, and later on we will try to make some of the front end. All right, that is the way I'm going to structure this tutorial. I am going to require something known as methods. So on the basis of the methods, I'm going to pass everything. Okay, so I'll select two methods, which are going to be the get and post. And so now if I try to use the get method, I am going to get default, which is name : Ronak. But if request dot method is equal to post, I want to perform something. Okay, so I'm going to now post the data. The way I do it, I can use something known as request.json. Okay, so I'll say name is equal to, or let us make a variable, okay, which is going to be language. And here I'm going to say request.json, and I have to mention the key that I'm working on. So I'll say language at the moment. All right, and I'm going to return it. Okay, so I'll say return JSONify. All right, and here I'll say, let's say, like this. Okay, so I'll say lang, and I'm going to say Python over here, or basically not Python, I'm sorry, it is going to be language. The way it works, I'm going to check if the method is going to be post. Okay, I'm going to post some data, then I'm going to catch the JSON which has the key as lang, and we will get that JSONified reply. All right, so in the postman at the moment, so my server is up and running. So if I go and send over here, I'm going to get default, which is name colon Ronak. But now here I'll go and select post. Okay, so my method is now post, and after I have it, I'm going to go to the body. All right, and I'm going to go to the raw, where instead of text I have to select JSON. All right, and now here I'm going to say lang, and here I can specify the language I want to pass to it. So I'll say Python. All right, and now I'm going to send it. It is hitting successfully. So the way it works, I'm posting my data using this lang, and the Flask catches that lang over here, and it is going to give us the output. So that is one of the ways to say it, or I can just even return the data. All right, so I can say like this. Okay, so I can say the language is, and after that I can pass my language over here. I can say language like this. Okay, so this is one of the ways you can do it. Okay, so my server is up and running, and I'll just again press send, and it says the language is Python. Okay, so this is the way the REST API works. Okay, this is I think my one of the first tutorials with the REST API. Like I said, I've covered a lot of stuff with the templating and everything. Okay, I failed to cover the basic concepts of the REST API itself. Anyway, so now what I'll do is I am going to work with the model at the moment. All right, so the way I do it, I'm actually going to import that model. So for that I'll say from joblib, I'm going to import something as load. So this load is responsible for the model in order to load. So I'll say I'll make a variable named model. I'll say load, and now I'm going to redirect to that part. Okay, so I want to get out of my current directory, and I'm going to go to the directory known as backend. I'm sorry, I'm already in backend. All right, so I'm going to go to the directory known as ml_model/. All right, and I have the data in my saved models, and after that I have my data known as model.joblib. Okay, if we check it over here, the name of the file is model.joblib. So that is the way we do it. So I get my model basically. All right, so I have my model with me, and now the way it works, so I'll say if request.method is equal to post, I'm going to perform something. And since Iris has 4 features, which are sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, I'm going to go for it. Okay, so I'm going to train my model for it. So I'll say sepal length, I am going to make a variable. I'll say request. All right, request dot I'm sorry, not method, it is JSON with, let's say, sepal length. And similarly I'll just copy this stuff. Okay, so I'm actually trying to grab the data. All right, 4 times. So here it is going to be width, and over here it is going to be width. Next stuff, so it is petal length. All right, so here I'll say petal length. I'll just copy this stuff over here, and here it is going to be petal width. Okay, so the order is very important, I'll tell you. All right, so here it is petal width. Now the next step is I'm going to associate all of this stuff with the model. So I'm going to say model dot predict, and this prediction is actually going to take that sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. All right, and finally we get our model. So I'm going to store it inside a variable known as ypred. Let me just close this. Yeah, so ypred, and I'm going to say, so I'll have a model. Okay, so the way I do it, I'm going to say return JSONified data, where I'm going to say, let's say, predicted value. Okay, so it is going to be a form of list, okay, in array form. Okay, so I'll say ypred with the 0th value. Okay, that is going to give me my value. And okay, just I'll say save my thing. Okay, and here I'm going to say, okay, so the server has actually crashed. Okay, and it is up and running. Now I'll go to the postman. and now I have to change the JSON. Okay, so here I have to say sepal length. So this actually needs to be very much accurate. Okay, please understand this. And sepal length I just want to pass as 1 at the moment, and I'm going to copy this stuff and make the significant changes. Okay, so here I'm going to say after sepal length I'm going to say sepal width, and I'll say petal length. Okay, so petal length and petal width. All right, and I have it. So my JSON is basically ready, and now I'm going to pass it. So I'm going to send, and we have an error. Okay, so it is not able to pass it. So I think we will have to enclose it. So typecasting is very much important. Okay, so wipe is basically taking all of the values and everything. Okay, so yeah, this is fine. Anyway, sepal length, sepal width, petal. Okay, so let us again test this thing, and I'm going to send, and I have the value. Okay, so it says 1. So 1 is basically 0 is Setosa, 1 is versicolor, and 2 is Virginica. Okay, so that is the label order we have for our data. And now the next thing I want to do, so my API is up and running. Okay, my API is basically ready. So now I'll make some significant changes. Okay, so this is not practical. Let's say if I have 50 or 100 variables. Okay, so that is not, I would say, quite a practical solution. So for that I have something different. So I'm going to say just data. I'm going to say request dot get JSON. All right, and here I'll make a comprehension. Okay, so let's say x test is equal to, I'll say x for x in, okay, x for x in data dot values. All right, and here I'm going to pass it. So I'll say x test. All right, and now let us try this. Okay, so server is up and running. I'll just send, and it says predicted value is 1. So basically it is working. Let me try some different value. Yeah, we get 2. So my model is basically working. So this is successful. Okay, my API thing is done. Now we are going to focus on the front end. So let us get started. So here I'll come out of the backend, and I'll make a directory mkdir, which is going to be front end. All right, and this front end folder is actually going to have a file known as index.html. So now I'll be actually working with let's say a very basic HTML. Okay, I'm not going to do much more fancy stuff. So I'll work with a basic HTML. All right, where let's say I have a button. All right, so I'll say button, and let's say click me, that is the name of the button. Okay, so I'm actually trying to show you the concept of let's say the REST itself first in the first place, and later on we will actually work with our ML model. So here I'm going to say ID, and let's say, so I need a name for the ID, so I'll say basic. Okay, so my HTML is ready. Now I need a script. Okay, so I'll say script, and inside this script tag I am going to work, or I can actually even use a separate file. Okay, so I'll say src, and I'll say script.js. okay, so it is going to be JavaScript, and in the front end I'm going to make the file which is known as script.js. okay, please understand the structure of the files, it is very much important. So when I am going to click the button, I want some JavaScript to be performed. All right, and which is basically going to be hitting on my route over here. So what I'll do, for at the moment I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, and I'll make a function which is going to be, let's say, def basic, and this basic is going to return the JSONified object. Okay, so here I can say JSONify, and inside this I'm going to say my name, and it is going to be Ronak. Okay, so I want this Ronak to be given out to the front end. All right, and here I'm going to write some JavaScript. So I'll say document.get element by ID, and we are going to pass the element of this button. Okay, so whenever I'm going to click it, so I'll say basic, and here I'm going to say add event listener on the basis of click. So when I'm going to click the button, event is supposed to trigger a function. So this function is, let's say, going to be display information. Okay, so display display info. Okay, that is the name of the function. And now here I'm going to make a function. So this is going to be a typical function which is known as display info. All right, and this display info is going to give me the data. So the first thing I'll do is I'll make a fetch API. Okay, so this fetch is actually used in order to handle the requests that we get from the servers. Okay, so I'm going to say HTTP localhost colon 5000. Okay, so this is where my route always is going to hit. So the way fetch works, it works on the concept of the promises, something known as promise. So if the fetch is successful, then okay, I'll write a new function. So here it is going to be response. All right, and in this response function I'm going to return the response.json file. Since I'm passing the JSONified from my localhost, now I have my response, which is a JSONified object. Now I'll make a new function, so which is actually going to hold my data, and I'm going to console log this data. All right, so I'm going to say console.log followed by data. All right, so my API is ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit with my Python, and my JavaScript is going to catch that. All right, and the way it works, so let us now run this thing. All right, I'm sorry, it is HTTP colon localhost like this. All right, and first of all let me run my backend. So I'll say backend, and I want to say python app.py. Okay, so my file is up and running. Now I'll open a new terminal. Okay, you have to keep this terminal running, please understand this. And here now you can actually use, let's say, server for the front end. All right, if you use a React, you get by default localhost colon 3000, or for Angular there is something or the other. So we require a server. I can use the LiveShare server, okay, that is given out to us using the VS Code, but I'll use a Python server. So I'll say python -m http.server. This is just a basic server in order to get started or run your applications. Okay, so it runs on the localhost colon 8000. So now I'm going to go over here in my browser. I'm going to say localhost colon 8000, and I'm going to open Control Shift I. So this actually gives me my console, since I'm doing console.log. All right, so it is going to get displayed in my console, not on the screen at the moment. So I'll say click me. Okay, and we have an error. So this is known as CORS. I'll show you how you can handle this. So this CORS is basically cross origin error. Okay, and this is the reason out there because your browser is, you know, trying to avoid that server request. So you have to enable the cross origin. So the way the cross origin works is I'm going to work with the Flask on the cross origin. So I'll say from Flask underscore CORS, I'm going to import CORS and something known as cross origin. So this cross origin is basically a decorator, and that CORS is a function. So the first step that is required is I'm going to make let's say variable. Okay, so CORS, and this CORS is going to take my CORS, and it is going to take my app. Okay, so let me put it after the app itself. All right, so it says apply the cross origin for my app, and then you have to say CORS, and you have to say CORS underscore header, HEADERS. okay, headers is equal to content type. Okay, so content type like this. You actually have to do this in JavaScript if you want, but I am actually showing it to you over here itself. And another step is after the app.route decorator, we have to say cross origin decorator, and we have it. Okay, my cross origin is done. So now it is not going to block a request from my Flask. So let me check if my Flask is running. Okay, my server has stopped. See, so I'll run this thing. I'm going to run my server. So I'll say python app.py. Okay, so it says CORS object does not support item assignment. Let me check, some error is over there. I'm sorry, it is not CORS, it is app.config. I'm sorry, a silly mistake. Anyway, so py.pyapp.py, and my server is running. Now let me check my front end. My front end server is also running. Now I'll go over here. I'm to reload the page, and now I'll say click me, and I get the data. So I have my data, which is name and Ronak. All right. So this is the way it works. All right, and you can similarly use React. You can use Axios instead of Fetch. So here I'm using something known as Fetch API, but you can use the Axios. Okay. After that, if my fetch is successful, I can actually use this in Angular Vue or anywhere in any single JavaScript application. I can also use this in React Native. All right. So this is the way the requests work. And if I say over here data.name, that is the name of my key, and I run this once again. All right, and I'll say click me, it says Ronak. Okay, so it is giving me the data very much accurately. So now I'm going to work with the things that I have. Okay, so I'll get rid of this and I'll start with this function. So the way it works, all right, so now I want my server to be up and running. So I'll go to my index.html, and now I need to make a lot of considerable changes over here. And the way I do it, I am going to make a form. All right. So I'll say form, and I need an ID for form. All right. So action, I'm going to give it a slash at the moment, or I can even remove the action. I don't care because I'm handling that in the JavaScript itself. And let's say the ID. So let's say iris form. Okay, this is the name of the ID that I'm going to catch over there. And inside of this form, I'm going to have all my details. Okay, so I'll say input with type as text. All right, and with ID I can give it. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's say sepal length. Okay, and I'm going to copy this stuff, and here I'm going to say sepal width, width, yeah, and here I'm going to say petal length followed by petal width. All right, so my form is ready. Okay, my form is ready. Now I need a button, so I'll make a button, and the type of the button is going to be submit, and yeah, this is it. Okay, so at the moment this seems fine, and here I'll say submit. Okay, so my script is ready, and now I need to make changes in this. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this function. All right, so and I'll say document.get element by ID, and I'm going to give it the name of my form. Okay, which is going to be a iris form. All right, and here I'm going to say add event listener, which is going to work only if I do submit. Okay, and here I'll say display info. I'll make the changes in this function itself. So since it is a submit, I have to select prevent default. Okay, so this is a JavaScript issue, because if you are not doing prevent default, it is going to just, as soon as you load the request, it is going to hit on that request, and we don't really want that. All right, and now we actually want to perform a post request. So we have to post the data, and the way I do it, you have to, after fetch, you will have to mention to curly brace, and you have to work with that. Okay, so this is the way it works. Okay, and here you have to say something known as method, and this method is going to be post. All right, and there is going to be headers. So these headers are basically your data that you are going to pass from your HTML. Okay, so our case, it is going to be application/JSON. Okay, because we are going to pass it the JSONified data. And if we check in the Postman also, we are selecting it as raw followed by JSON. So you cannot directly pass it. Okay, you need something in order to enclose that data in a certain fashion, and the way we are going to do it is by using the body. Okay, so I'll say body, and this body is where you are going to pass your data. So now in order to pass that data, you are going to say json.stringify. All right, and inside that stringify, you have to pass your data. So what I'll do is I'll say sepal length. Okay, sepal length, and I'm going to pass it sepal length. Then similarly I'm going to work with petal length and petal width. Alright, so I'm going to say petal length with the petal width, and later on I have something known as this is basically going to be my IDs. So I'm trying to pass the JSON in it, and here I'm going to say sepal length. Okay, so sepal length, sepal width. I'm sorry, it is going to be sepal width after the sepal length. Okay, so order needs to be very much correct. Otherwise, your model is going to not understand stuff you are working with. Okay, and here I'm going to say sepal width. All right, and finally we have something known as petal width, and we have it. Okay, so my data is ready. I forgot the comma. Anyway, so my data is ready. So this is going to be my post thing. Okay, so this is the way my data is going to be given to my Flask. All right, and then I will have the stuff, and the way I do it, so yeah, catching the data is fine, but we want that data to be displayed on our web page. Okay, not okay. So at the moment we can just run it for the, let's say, the console. Okay, we can check it in the console itself. So let me check if my servers are up and running. So my front end is running and my Python is also running. So let us now hit it. Okay, so I have now 4 things and I'm going to pass some values. So I'll say 1 1 1 1 and I'm going to say submit. So we have uncaught error. The provided value is not of the type sequence byte or string HTML format. Okay, I get it. Stupid of me. I made a very silly mistake. I have not catched those elements. Okay, so now let me make that. Okay, so I'll just let sepal length is equal to, then I'll say document dot get element by ID, and my ID is going to be sepal length. All right, sepal length length followed by dot value. Okay, so this is the way it works. Quite silly mistake. Okay, so I really forgot we are going to pass the stuff because we have the stuff in the ID and we need to pass it over here, then it is only going to work. Okay, so that was a quite silly mistake. And why I'm actually doing this is so that I can give you a glimpse of the way the rest works. Okay, so the client side thing is very difficult if we consider it. Okay, so it is not easy. I remember because I used to work a lot with APIs and I used to curse a lot of my friends who were working with the front end, and now I do understand that front end is very tedious task. See, if you are templating by yourself, it is going to be a living hell. But if you are, let's say, working with a team, at that point of time, if you are only working with the backend, the stuff is really easy. Okay, because if you see our backend and our entire ML thing actually was built in a couple of seconds, and front end is taking quite a long time because I have not even used any CSS at the moment. Okay, so this is the reason the client side team is required to be big and everything. Anyway, and I'll run this, and now I'm going to pass the values. Okay, so 1 1 1 1 and I'll say submit. Okay, again we have an error in the fetch. Okay, so let me check. Yes, I got the mistake. Okay, so the headers are always supposed to be enclosed like this, right? I think that might be one of the issues that we have. Okay, so basically it is going to be like this. All right, and here I need a comma, and here I'm going to say, so the header that I'm going to pass is going to be, let's say, application/JSON, and this is going to be basically the content type. Now let us check. Again we have a cross origin error now. Let me see. All right, so I think it is predicted underscore value over here. So let me just console log the data. All right, and now let me check if my server is up and running, and my server is also running over here. I'm going to reload this stuff. So I have my error. The funny part is when I was actually getting rid of that entire thing, I made a mistake. So I actually removed the route. Oh god, app.route. This is the reason it was not coming. So methods, I'm going to say get and post, and here I'm going to say cross origin. And now let me check. and we have it. Okay, so the predicted value is 1. We have the data. And now here I'm going to say data dot predicted value. And now if I run this again, I can say 111 and submit, and it gives me 1. So now I'm going to improve this for a while. Okay, so right before doing that, I'll show you how you can use the output. Okay, because we want to display our output not in the console but on the screen. So let us now work towards that. So here I'm going to say, let's say h1 with an id, let's say as output. Okay, so we need to pass the data that we have from that output. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this console.log, and here I'm going to say document dot get element by id. Here I'm going to pass output, and I'll say inner html is equal to data dot predicted value. Right, and let me run this. Okay, and I get 1 over here. So I get it on my screen. I don't require console anymore. And now let me just make some changes in it. So I'll say div over here, and in the script over here I'm going to use backtack, and I'm going to say predicted flower is, and I'm going to pass it. So I'll say dollar followed by 2 parentheses, and I'm going to pass it my data. So data dot predicted value. This is one of the things that you can do. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. I'll say submit, and it says predicted flower is 1, but 1 is also not going to make up, so we have to write a condition for that. So what I'll do, I'll say if data is equal to 0, I'm going to say flower name is equal to Setosa. Else if data is equal to 1, I'm going to say flower name is equal to versicolor. Else it is going to be Virginica. So flower name is equal to Virginica. Okay, so this is the way it works. And now here I'm going to pass my flower name. All right, now let us check. So I'm going to run this thing. I'll say 11111, and I'll say submit, and it says predicted flower is Virginica. All right, so this is the way it works. And okay, so I cannot use data. All right, I'll have to use data dot predicted value, which is that is the reason it was actually giving me the wrong prediction, because it is giving all the values that are present in the data in the first place, and I cannot do that. Okay, so now let me again try this. So I'll just run this thing. I'll say 1111, I'll say submit. It says predicted flower is versicolor. All right, so now I'm going to fast forward some things. I'm going to use some of the HTML in order to make this look good. Okay, and I'll explain you the HTML on the way back. So let me speed up the things. All right, so I'm back, and this is the simple front end. Okay, so I have actually made this form of template a long back ago. All right, so in my some of the live projects I made some considerable changes. Okay, I'll walk you through the code. It is not much of the rocket science. Okay, so I'm just using some of this style. Okay, you can just ignore this. I got one image from the internet. I used a little bit of CSS. Okay, so this is just the media query in order to handle all the things with the cards. Okay, so the cards that we have over here. Okay, so these are completely static. After that I have my form as usual, and I also have my container with the card deck and everything. Okay, this is very simple. Okay, and I'll put this alert let's say in the container. All right, and I can reload this thing. Okay, so by default it is coming over here. So now I will have to handle this, and the way we do it, I'll write some JavaScript for it. Okay, so I'm going to use an on-click event, let's say. So this on-click event will be responsible to display that bar only if the things are happening. Also, if I want to test, I'll just give all the 4 values. I'll say submit, Okay, so we have an issue, and let me check. Okay, so now let me try this. Okay, so I'll say 111 and I'll say submit, and it says predicted flower is Virginica. But now this is not, I would say, a very great thing, because even if I reload the page, I have this over here. So I'll write some little bit of JavaScript for it in order to handle that. So I'll say in this output, I'll say on click, and I'll make it function. Let's say display. I can call my function, let's say display prediction. All right, display prediction is the name of my function. And the way I do it, so I am going to say, so now this is actually for the on click event, my function is going to get triggered. All right, so whenever I'm sorry, it is not going to be inside this. Okay, I forgot, it is going to be inside the button. All right, so we have our small button over here. I'll put it in the button. All right, so button is going to take that on click display prediction, and this is a function. Okay, so I have to pass it like this in the HTML. And now this display prediction, I can write a new function over here. So I can say display prediction. All right, and inside this function, I'm going to specify where I want and what I want. So I'll say document.get element by ID. For the output, I'm going to say style dot display, let us say block. All right, so this is a CSS I'm writing, and here in the style, what I'll do is I'll say style first of all, and I'll say display with none. All right, so by default, okay, it is going to be display none, but when I click on the event, this display none is going to get blocked by the JavaScript. Okay, so now let us check this. So I'll reload. Okay, it is gone. All right, and I'll put some values. I'll say submit, and it says predicted flower is versicolor. What else we want? All right, let us try it once again. So now I'm going to classify it. I'll say 2222. I'll say submit. It says predicted flower is Setosa. What else we want? And this entire thing, the fun fact is, this entire thing is working on two different servers. Okay, so this is the REST API concept. My backend, I have a dedicated backend for it, and I have a dedicated front end, and both of the things are independent. So I can actually host this somewhere on the cloud, and it is running my machine learning model, and I am using just front end. So in future, I can work with React, Angular, or Vue easily. Even I can connect Android, and I can have fun. So two independent servers are over there. What else we want? So I hope you might have learned something or the other from this tutorial. I would say this is a very basic kind of project. Okay, since you have to work on the front end by yourself in order to test the things, it might seem, I would say, quite difficult. But if you have a dedicated team, this is going to be a really great project. Assuming the fact that you are in a hackathon, you want to build something or the other in, let's say, 24 hours. You can decide the name of the variables, the layout, and everything, architecture, and the backend people can start working independently, front end people can start working independently, and you are just going to host it on a server. You're just going to host it somewhere or the other, and you are going to catch that request. This is one of the best projects that you can do in order to get started with, let's say, the full stack development. Okay, so this is the way the REST works. Representation and trait transfer using the JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. We are passing the data with JSON, we are catching the data with JSON, we are doing the best. Okay, so entire code is going to be uploaded in the GitHub, and link will be in the description box below. And I hope you might have learned something or the other from this tutorial. And if you like my content, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you get notified every time whenever I post something new. Alright, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.